Now, this is very important to understand. How does the tendon remodel, or doesn't it, in menopausal women? That's what you need to remember. So for ladies to be efficient with healing, remodeling of the extracellular matrix is required. So we need to have the proper systems, hormones in place to be the best version of ourselves. Okay, so we have to maintain the tendon. So the tendon's homeostasis doesn't necessarily love fluctuations. What I think people don't understand is how complex remodeling the tendon and the healing process really is. It is a delicate process, multi-step, multi-scale, involving clearance of the damaged extracellular matrix, synthesis of a new extracellular matrix, incorporation and repair of existing extracellular matrix proteins, reorganizing it. There is a lot to be done, and it's very complex, and that's why tendonitis takes so long to heal. And I wish we knew more about tendons and hormones in ladies. And even though there was an NIH mandate on considering sex as a biological variable, most of the research still only focuses on male samples. In fact, a systematic review found that only 2% of the total participants represented in the literature on patellar tendinopathy are female, and just 5% recognize the lack of female representation as a limitation to their work. So I'm doing the Lord's work right now, telling you about your tendons and how the hormone fluctuations mess with your homeostasis. But I digress. Now, the studies are done on little mice and rats, and so we are not technically the same as rats, although some humans are rats. Anyway, the discrepancies between the studies, especially comparing humans to rodents, suggest that the sex-related changes may also be a result of epigenetic history in specific site of the tendon. So what you do matters. Your previous history, the life you lead, the habits, and all the things that happen to you. It's not just about the structure and the function. Now, where estrogen and progesterone come in, they can interact with DNA directly or with targets in the cytosol to alter transcription and ultimately protein synthesis. So yes, how your hormones bind to those receptors in the tendon and how those receptors express themselves matter with how we remodel. So that's why a person in menopause remodels differently than a young adult female, and even men have progesterone and estrogen receptors in the rotator cuff tendon. Yes, that's right, men have these too. And a nerdy fact I know you didn't know, in addition, pelvic floor prolapse has been highly correlated with dysfunctional progesterone receptors in the pelvic floor tissue. Given the similarities in collagen structure between pelvic floor muscle and tendon, this data suggests that an important role of progesterone in extracellular matrix maturation and turnover that has not yet been examined. Of course not. So the way men remodel their tendons versus females is quite different, and male tendons rebuild while female tendons preserve the matrix in the absence of hormonal stimulation. So the way we respond and remodel is different than men, and this lack of remodeling response may explain that the decreased remodeling in female tendons in response to exercise and decreased healing outcomes when compared to male in the same time frame. Now, when adding estrogen to female tissues, now these are female mice and rats, we see more similarities to the male tissue than in the female non-hormonal condition. This indicates that estrogen supplementation may compensate for or reverse some of the innate sex differences we saw in tendon and improve the response in the female tendon to injury. Now, this was like a little finger tendon of a little mouse. Okay, so like this is us trying to figure it out. This is not done in the human yet, but we have to have these theories and we have to go with this. We know that there are differences between men and women and how they heal. And now we're just trying to get there through the little mice tendon one at a time. So in their mouse little tendon research, they found that our data shows that estrogen has a role in the stimulation of matrix turnover, increasing synthesis and degradation parameters in female tendon explants. This aligns with previous findings that estrogen bolsters cell proliferation in female musculoskeletal tissue. Estrogen helps with remodeling. So given hormones, it has a greater impact on females than male tissues, especially in turnover in the extracellular matrix, leading to an improved response to stress deprivation in females, but decreases responses in males. This is an important finding as many studies and literature use male models to assess the impact of female-associated sex hormones. Estrogen seems to have a dominant role in the upregulation of the overall matrix turnover, while progesterone was dominant in matrix. So estrogen gets things going and progesterone just keeps it chill and happening. And that kind of is the trend, right? That's kind of, if we were to describe estrogen and progesterone, that makes sense.